Welcome to Glove Talk, a channel where we like to talk all things boxing, boxing news, fight predictions, and today we're going to be talking about YouTube boxers. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I have a feeling you're going to have some very strong opinions, and with that said, let's get into the video. Okay, so I was talking to a subscriber who I've been chit-chatting with on Twitter a little bit, and we've been talking about, upcoming fights and everything, and then we started getting onto the topic of YouTube boxers, and he said, what's your opinion about it? I said, that's a great video idea, so thank you, Steve. So I think I was like a lot of you out there where I hated it when I first heard about these guys fighting, that it was a joke, that they're just doing it to make money, they don't care about the sport. And then my opinion changed, and it changed because of the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. fight. Not because one of the Paul brothers knocked out Nate Robinson, it's nothing to do with that. I still don't think he's a good boxer, and I still don't care about him as a YouTuber. It was because of a conversation I had with a buddy the next day. We're sitting there talking about the various fights, talking about Snoop Dogg, and he brought up the fact that he was sitting on the couch watching the card, and his teenage daughter came in, and she said, what are you watching? He said, oh, I'm watching Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. And she had no clue who either one of those guys are. Zero. And he said, well, maybe you know one of the guys that's on the card, Jake Paul. He goes, oh yeah, I know who that is. She doesn't care for his content at all, but she knew who he was. And so she kind of sits down because she's kind of interested, and she starts asking about who Mike Tyson is and who's Roy Jones Jr. She starts Googling them on her phone in between fights. And, chit-chatting about various parts of both guys' careers, both in and out of the ring and everything. And she sat there for the entire fight card. So it got me thinking. I don't think she's going to become like a hardcore boxing fan, but it does go to show what Mike Tyson kind of had to say, which is he thinks it's a good thing that there's exposure to a younger generation. And I have to agree with him on that, because us being such a niche sport here in the United States, we need as much exposure as possible. And if it means that there's a couple kids that maybe go to a boxing gym for the first time and get some boxing lessons, I think that's a good thing. I really do, especially some of these small gyms. COVID's done a number on them, and they need as much help as possible. Now, that doesn't mean I love watching YouTube boxers. No, not at all. I think that they're pretty terrible. I also think ultimately we kind of do this gatekeeping in boxing where, if you're new to the sport, you're a casual. Guys, we were all casuals at one point. We had to have some kind of exposure to boxing to make us get interested in it. Maybe it was your dad watched boxing and that's how you learned about it. Maybe it was maybe you heard about Mike Tyson and that's how you got into the sport. But at some point you watched a boxing match and went, wow, this is really cool. I want to keep watching this. And that's what I think ultimately some of these YouTubers are doing for us as a sport. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but at the same time, when we don't get the exposure that most major sports get here, I think we got to take what we can get, And I think ultimately there might be a kid that figures out, hey, boxing's kind of cool. Maybe he follows Ryan Garcia and now he's watching Canelo fights because Ryan's talking about Canelo. And then maybe he hears during a broadcast, oh, AJ versus Fury, and he tunes in for that fight. Who knows? I'm just saying, the more exposure to these guys, to these actual professional boxers, the better. And if that means they have to go through, learning about it through YouTubers, I'll take it. I'll take it because in the end, I'm just hoping we get more and more fans enthusiastic about the sport and tuning in so that these guys can get paid and bigger fights can be made. That's my opinion about it. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. With that said, we'll talk to you later. Thanks.